Welcome back to our podcast, our study in the book of 2 Corinthians. You know, sometimes we look at the Word of God and we say that's a dichotomy. That's two opposing thoughts. We just talked yesterday about having the power of God on the inside of us. And now verse number 8, we look at verse number 8 and 9 and 10, and we think, you know, what happened to the power? Well, we need to understand that just because we have the power of God on the inside of us does not mean that we will not be affected by people on the outside of us. The Apostle Paul writes in verse number 8, and he says, we are afflicted in every way. Phew, Paul. Come on, you were just talking about the power of God, the glory of God on the inside of you. And then all of a sudden he changes it and he says, we're afflicted in every way. And the word afflicted means to be pressed. It means to be pressed. It means to be under pressure. We are afflicted in every way. Notice he didn't say in a few ways. He said, in everything that we do, we're finding this pressure. We're finding this pressure from the outside, pressing us and pressing us, pressing us. Actually, the word afflicted means to make narrow. But notice what the Apostle Paul says. But we are not crushed. Yes, we're under pressure. Yes, there are people that don't like Christians. But you know what? Because we have the power of God on the inside of us, we are not crushed. Now, this word crushed, it actually means to crowd into a narrow space. It means to be conformed to a narrow space. What's Paul saying? He's saying, yeah, we're under pressure. But the pressure on the inside of us, the power on the inside of us, the power of God on the inside of us, that surpassing power of God on the inside of us is not causing us to be conformed to their pressure. We are afflicted, but we are not crushed. That's what the Apostle Paul says. Now, what else did he say? We're perplexed. We are perplexed. The word perplexed means not knowing the way to proceed. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. Have you ever been in a situation where you just don't know what to do? Well, the Apostle Paul says, I've been there. There are many times where Paul didn't know what was happening. He didn't understand what was happening. I'm sure that while he was being stoned and while he was being beaten, while he was being whipped, and he was being whipped because he was bringing the gospel, I'm sure that in his mind he's going, I don't understand. I'm just trying to help somebody. I've been in ministry for almost 48 years. And you know what? There's times where I look and I say, I just don't understand. I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to bring you to an understanding of Jesus. And I think that's what the Apostle Paul is going through. He says, we've been perplexed. I just don't understand. I don't understand you. I don't understand why you're doing this to me. But then he adds, but we are not despairing. And the word despairing, it means to be utterly lost. It means to be in a place where you're completely helpless. Have you ever been utterly lost where you don't know where you're at? Paul said that's not our case. We're perplexed, yes. We don't know why people are treating us like this. Yes, we are perplexed. But we are not lost. We are not lost. You know what? If you're constantly looking at the people that are persecuting you and constantly speaking bad about you and harassing you, you know what? You're going to be perplexed, but you know what? You need to realize that the power of God is on the inside of you. And therefore, you are never lost. Never lost. The glory, the very presence of Christ is on the inside of you. You are never in despair. And then Paul goes on into the next verse, verse number 9, and he says this, we are persecuted. The word persecuted means to make run or to pursue. How many of you know that wherever Paul went, there were people pursuing him? There were people that were trying to get him in trouble. The Apostle Paul was probably the most persecuted person in the New Testament. Everywhere he went, people were chasing him. The Judaizers would follow him from city to city to city, always causing trouble, always wanting to persecute him, always wanting to kill him. And so the Apostle Paul writes and he says, you know what? We are persecuted. There's people chasing after us, but we are not forsaken. What's this word forsaken mean? The word actually, the Greek word forsaken, actually means to be left behind or to be deserted. You see, the Apostle Paul is being chased. But there is something in the Apostle Paul's life that Paul is saying, I'm not alone in this. I've got people standing with me. You know, I've had the privilege of being with persecuted people. I've had the privilege of being with people that where people were trying to kill them because of their faith. And you know what? They blessed me. Why? Because we were not forsaken. They are not forsaken. We need to make sure that we don't forsake our brothers and sisters in Nigeria. We need to make sure that they understand that we are standing with them. When Paul says, I am not forsaken, he says, I don't feel like I've been deserted. I've got brothers and sisters in this. We are going through this together. And you know what? Persecution has always made the church stronger. Now, Paul goes on. And he says, again in verse 9, he says, we are struck down. What does it mean to be struck down? The word here, it means to be cast down. And it's a very violent word. It's a word that's used where you just forcefully throw something down. Paul says we've been forcefully thrown down. We've been cast down. But then he goes on and he says this, but we are not destroyed. We are not destroyed. The word destroyed here means to be in total destruction. How many of you know Paul had this assurance that he has the power of God on the inside of him, the glory of God, the presence of Christ on the inside of him, and therefore would never get to the point of total destruction. Thank you for watching. Join us again next week as we continue our study in the book of 2 Corinthians.